This time on episode 242 of Legends of S.H.I.E.L.D., we discuss Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. episode, The One Who Will Save Us All, Marvel News Roundup, and your feedback.
I'm James from the Just For More Fix podcast, a proud member of the Gonna Geek Network, just like the show you're listening to now. The opinions expressed are those of each individual host. Check out all the other podcasts at GonnaGeekNetwork.com. And get ready, because geekiness begins in 3, 2, 1.
You have been granted clearance by Director Phil Coulson. Stand by for S.H.I.E.L.D. debriefing. All information to be discussed here is classified and may only be discussed among agents granted clearance by the S.H.I.E.L.D. Director.
Now it's time for your scheduled debriefing. I'm Director SP.
I'm Agent Lauren.
And I'm Consultant Michelle.
Welcome to Legends of S.H.I.E.L.D., a Marvel Comic Universe fan show. This show is recorded on Sunday, May 13th, 2018, live from the Legends of S.H.I.E.L.D. studios and broadcast galactic-wide via www.geeks.live. Ladies, happy National Chocolate Chip Day.
I'm gonna celebrate the hell out of this one.
I love chocolate.
And it's not just chocolate, it's chocolate chips. So I think it could be anything from Hershey Kisses to little chocolate chips to put in chocolate chip cookies. My favorite.
Just gonna eat all the chocolate and chocolate chips. Gonna break up chocolate into little chunks.
Oh, do you shave your own? Do you make your own chocolate chips?
I don't, but I mean, there's nothing stopping me from it. I actually so there's this candy store at the mall, and I just went there yesterday, day before, and bought some chocolate bars that were on sale. So seriously, I'm going to celebrate the hell out of this.
Yeah, we brought in some chocolate into the house to celebrate the other national holiday going on today in the United States anyway, Mother's Day. And it was like a big block of chocolate, you know, one of those big table size bars for only like $18. It was like, why not?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, the scale is why not, but I mean, why not? You live a little.
Exactly.
Yeah. Let's get back into it. Legends of S.H.I.E.L.D. is a fan-based podcast on the ABC television show Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Might be the second to last time I say that, so just wanted to savor it. The Marvel's Defender series on Netflix, Legion on FX, possibly The Gifted on Fox, the Marvel Cinematic Universe, like Infinity War, Ant-Man and the Wasp, and the Marvel Comic Universe in general.
Because we know zero.
If you'd like to talk to us about knowing zero, you can visit our website, legendsofshield.com.
If you'd like to tell us all the numbers that you know, you can leave us a voicemail at 844-THE-BUS-1. That's 844-843-2871.
You can find us on Facebook at Legends of S.H.I.E.L.D. Podcast.
You can find us on Twitter at Legends of S.H.I.E.L.D.
You can watch our videos on YouTube, www.youtube.com/GonnaGeek.
You can tell your Amazon device, we are not saying the name because we don't want to activate them, to enable Legends of S.H.I.E.L.D. skill if you want to listen to us on there.
And remember, Legends of S.H.I.E.L.D. is a proud member of the GonnaGeek.com network.
I have an important announcement to make. Haley is celebrating National Chocolate Chip Day and out on the hunt for these large chocolate bars that I just described. So she will not be joining us this week. Hopefully, she'll be back next week for the season, perhaps series, finale of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. In the meantime, I think it's time to move on into our main event. Ladies, we all watched the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. episode, The Force of Gravity, which came out a couple days ago on Friday night. We're recording on Sunday. Lauren, what is the theme of the episode and in relation to the title?
So, the force of gravity. I'm having to look up the formula because it's been so long since I took physics. Gravity is F equals G, parentheses, m sub 1 times m sub 2, parentheses, over r to the power of 2, where F is the force of attraction between the two bodies, G is the universal gravitational constant, m sub 1 is the mass of the first object, m sub 2 is the mass of the second object, and r is the distance between the centers of each object. So as you can see, they are trying to teach us a very important math lesson.
Now, question, is that the strong gravitational force or the weak gravitational force?
The last time I took physics was in college, so...
It's the strong gravitational force formula, Lauren. Yep. And that's what this is all about, teaching everybody a lesson on mathematics and physics. No, that's not true at all. What we're talking about...
No. Yeah, it's about Gravitron and his whole deal. And it's about... I know there's more to it than that on like a metaphorical level, but...
That he's a force now. He's a superhero, and he's got to do things to make sure that he saves the planet from Thanos, who's simultaneously ravaging the planet.
Yeah, y'all, this episode had me so stressed. Very stressed.
It absolutely did. And we're going to talk about that in a second, but we're going to get into the creative team right now. So, Michelle, why don't we talk about who directed this episode?
Yes, this episode is directed by Kevin Tancharoen. This is the 12th discussion appearance on Legends of S.H.I.E.L.D. He has 25 directing credits since 2004, including 8 Dance Life, Fame 2009, 18 Mortal Kombat Rebirth, a Supergirl, 2 Flash, 1 12 Monkeys, 2 Prison Break, 2 Legends of Tomorrow, 1 Inhumans, 3 Arrow, 1 Iron Fist, and 12 Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
So kind of a newbie.
Yeah. He has no experience whatsoever. I don't know what they were thinking about giving the reins of this episode to him.
I'm kind of surprised they didn't wait for next episode, but I think we'll know why once we talk about who directed next week's episode. In the meantime, Lauren, let's talk about who wrote this episode. There was 2 writers. Lauren, why don't you take the first?
The first writer is Drew Z. Greenberg, who is a familiar name. He has 12 total writing credits, and this is his 9th discussion appearance on Legends of S.H.I.E.L.D. His previous ones are all pretty good episodes, too. Also has 1 episode of Firefly, Safe, which is one of my favorite episodes, 6 of Buffy the Vampire Slayer, 3 of Smallville, 2 of Dexter, 5 of Star Wars The Clone Wars, 1 of Caprica, 8 of Warehouse 13, 6 of Arrow, and of course, 9 of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. And he's also produced all new 3's a Crowd, Dexter, Caprica, Warehouse 13, Arrow Year 1, Arrow, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. So, dude's no slouch.
No, he is not indeed. And by the way, just want to say RIP Warehouse 13. And actually, in the terms of sci-fis or skiffy or whatever you want to call it, actually had quite a healthy run. I wouldn't expect any other show on sci-fi to have such a run anymore just because of the way the network runs.
I'm going to vomit in anger. I'm very upset. Anyway.
Lauren was not a part of our pre-show conversation that Michelle and I were having about The Expanse, and that's what we are kind of referring to. Expanse, after 3 seasons, has been canceled by Skiffy, and I think it was just because they can't afford it. I mean, it was incredibly expensive.
They also don't have a lot of the streaming rights, so they aren't making as much of the money as they want to. I'm really, really hoping that Netflix picks them up or Hulu, because Netflix has the distribution rights overseas, and I forget who's currently streaming them. I think Amazon is currently streaming them. But in any case, it's
my favorite show on TV right now, and it continues to be.
It's such a good show.
It continues to be amazing. You know, other shows kind of dwindle off as you go into season 2, season 3, whatever. Not with Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. either, by the way. But Expanse was just continually hard-hitting, and it was based on some great material, and they really did it right.
The cast is so good. They purposely made an effort to get a really fantastic, really diverse cast. The writing is so good. I
It makes you
I
scratch
just
your
threw a
head.
fit on Thursday.
Yeah.
Thursday was a very bad day.
It was a bloodbath, and we'll talk about all that maybe in a future episode as we run through the ramifications of what did and what did not happen on that day. But in the meantime, Lauren, there was another writer on this episode. So
Yes.
Who else wrote it?
Craig Titley is the other writer. We always have a fun time saying his name. And this is his 9th discussion appearance on Legends of S.H.I.E.L.D. Also written some fantastic episode, including one of our favorites, 4,722 Hours. He's also written the movie Scooby-Doo from 2002, which, come on, y'all, is a fantastic movie. Also written Cheaper by the Dozen and Cheaper by the Dozen 2.
Woohoo!
2 episodes of Star Wars The Clone Wars. Yay! 2 episodes of The Cape. And, of course, these episodes of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Indeed. So it has been fun having these guys around in the series. And if it does get renewed, which I don't think it's going to, but if it does get renewed, I hope they hold on to this talent as they go forward. Now, ABC did air this episode, which happens to be the 21st episode of the 5th season of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. on Friday, May 11th, 2018, to a live rating of 1.86, which was up from 1.62 last week with The One Who Will Save Us All, which makes it the first time in like 4 weeks that it wasn't the lowest rated Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. episode ever. So, woo! Way to dig it out of the bottom of the barrel, basically, in terms of ratings. There were some mitigating factors in there, which we described in previous podcasts, but I'm glad to see the ratings height, and I don't know if it's just because people are coming back to it. I don't know if it's because of what happened with Avengers Infinity War, and people are like, well, how is this going to affect the show and stuff like that. So I don't know. I just think it's amazing on its own, just like The Expanse. Glad we've had the opportunity to podcast on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., and we'll see what happens after the season finale next week. All right, now we're going to talk about the episode itself. And as we do every week, we start talking about the average Joe, or Jane in this case. And that would be Michelle's mom, who does watch the series, but is not a self-proclaimed geek. So we use her as a barometer of a muggle or a normal person as they're watching the show. So Michelle, what did your mom think of the episode?
Again, this is the only show she insists on watching live, which, if you knew my mother, is just amazing. She said some words that I cannot repeat on this podcast, which is why I always have to paraphrase her, because she's like, oh my bleeping bleep, and I can't believe bleep happened. That's why she's not a guest. Okay, too much
Your mom
editing.
is amazing.
I know.
You should take your H5 and like hide it in the room and then record her reaction.
For the finale.
Yeah.
Like, do what they did with the Game of Thrones episode with Ned and with the Red Wedding. And God, I wish I'd been able to do that when my parents watched those.
Okay, I'll do that.
Do it.
I'll do it.
Awesome.
But yeah, she still loves this season, and yeah, continues to be impressed.
I'm impressed. I really enjoyed this episode. I sat down and watched it and just couldn't believe the time had gone by, just because they're so well written. You're not sitting there like, oh, I can't believe they're doing this. It's just one thing happening after another. And it's not like this is the penultimate episode, so they're like throwing things at you. Every episode has been like this all season long, and I'm just glad to have been watching it. All right, so a few things that happen in the episode. We have the whole deal. I think we have to talk about it. We've been shipping these people for quite some time, and it was just a little thing that happened during the episode, but it was so overwhelming that when I asked the ladies what they wanted to talk about, it was by far the thing. And then they struggled to think of anything else they didn't want to talk about. What we're talking about is the Felinda kiss behind Coulson's shield. What an amazing event. I like Daisy's reaction, right? So she comes around the hallway. She's fighting aliens, and all of a sudden, people are shooting at Coulson at his shield. They don't normally use guns, but they're using them. And so they're shooting at his shield. He's protecting them and they're kissing. And so Daisy sees mommy and daddy kissing and she's like, ooh.
Mommy and daddy aren't fighting anymore.
I loved how it actually became slow-mo because when Daisy comes around, she's like, oh my. And then I realized they're doing this in slow-mo just so we can stretch out this moment that we've been waiting all this time for.
Yeah, they know we've been wanting this for a while. Also, something I'm so happy about, and maybe this is just because I hang out in the fandom corners of the internet. So you don't tend to see a lot of older couples celebrated as much as the young, pretty couples. So I get really happy when I see, like, Bill and Laura in Battlestar Galactica. And here, Melinda and Phil, you get, hey, guess what? Sex doesn't end after 30, people. Like, they're old and well, not old, but they're middle-aged and they're in love. And guess what? This happens. And we all wanted this to happen, and now it's happened. We are so happy. And again, maybe it's just because I'm in fandom, and the fandom corners I'm in right now tend to be where the younger fans are. There's still a lot of fandom olds hanging around, but the younger fans tend to be the loud ones. And it makes me so happy seeing somebody older and in love and this being celebrated.
Right.
And again, we've been wanting this to happen for so long.
So one of the reasons why you have a louder part of the fandom coming from a younger crowd is just because they have the time to be in those spaces that you are on the internet in fandom. Because the older you get, the more you have to work and the more you have to take care of the family, the more you have to worry about your house, your cars, and that sort of thing.
Being involved in fandom is just so much effort. When I was young, I was like very much like, okay, so you see me now in the way I'm like, about everything. So I had way more energy when I was in my late teens and early 20s. And now I'm just like, oh God, everything is so much effort. So, being actually involved in a thing like this right now is about my limits. This and like occasionally writing a fanfic or drawing a picture is about the limits of effort. So, kudos to people who actually get in there and write like a new fanfic every week. I'm like, I don't know how you do it, but good on you.
Exactly.
And thank you for doing it, because I know the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. fandom is still pretty active. Like, I pop in and read fanfic every so often. Again, Skimmins is still one of my favorites. And yeah, I love it. Just good on you guys. I'm so happy for this active fandom.
And then Daisy throws a MASH reference down by calling Coulson Hot Lips. I thought that was pretty unique. I mean, have a MASH reference in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. in 2018. I think even to this day, wasn't the MASH finale one of the highest rated TV episodes of all time?
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if it's the highest rating anymore, because I don't know if like the Friends finale or whatever threw it over, but yeah, MASH is pretty big. And Hot Lips was a character in that series and movie, by the way, that was there. So anyway, Daisy calls.
Do you know what's so weird? And I'm sorry to keep interrupting, but I have this really, really vivid memory of watching the MASH finale. I was not born yet.
Well, I mean, I know you've seen it.
Yeah, it must have been like on a rerun or something. like maybe the first time they reran the show or something, because I have a really vivid memory of watching it. But
Right. So I did watch it live, and it was a huge deal. We talked about it in school and everything afterwards. So yeah. Anyway, hot lips. There we go. All right.
Yep.
So now that we got that out of the way, a bunch of other stuff happens, including, and since we've already been talking about Coulson and Felinda, the show rips our hearts out by telling us that the team either has to save Coulson or save the world. Michelle, what up with that?
Yeah, this is interesting because future Yo-Yo says everything that we did to try to save Coulson brings about the destruction of the world. And if you look at next week's promo, it seems as though Graviton is finding the Gravitonium. So if they don't stop Graviton, then the Earth could crack, meaning they save Coulson instead. I think they're going to have to do the bigger thing and try to save the world.
There's only so much centipede juice to go around right now. Centipede serum, I guess is the correct thing. That's just, you knew that they were going to come to this at some point, because we've known since old Yo-Yo or future Yo-Yo told current Yo-Yo that they had to let Coulson die. We didn't know what that meant until now. Now at least we know what we're in for in the season, perhaps series finale next week. And it's, oh man, it's just so hard to watch them have to do this. It's, ugh. So I guess that was you screaming, Lauren, about this?
this was one of the things I was screaming about. Yes, this was, oh man. Like, I'm very glad that the show didn't have a, oh no, but here's another thing of Centipede. So far, we'll see what they do in next week's episode. And seriously, that preview, again, so stressed. I ended up after the episode just playing a lot of Overwatch to try and de-stress.
You know, usually I do watch the preview for next week. This time I didn't. I wanted to go into it a little bit spoiler free, and I have not seen the trailer or whatever, the preview for next week yet.
All I will say, what got me just tearing up and just, Coulson had a really good voiceover. And I mean, if this is the last of the show that we get, I'm glad that we've gotten these characters, and I'm glad that we've gotten this time with Coulson, who I really loved from the movies, so much so that before he was confirmed brought back, I brought him back in a fanfic. Yes, I am one of those people. But I mean, yeah, I want the show to stay. I don't want it to stay past its welcome. And I feel like that's kind of what we're getting right now with Coulson. Like, in a very meta sense. You have these people who, they're attached. They are so attached to Coulson. They love Coulson. But there's the bigger picture at stake. So you have the whole, do we try to keep him or do we let him go?
And do you transition some of these characters into the movies too?
Oh, that reminds me, I need to add a news story.
All right.
Some of these characters can transfer over to other TV properties, maybe. And I don't know, as we're coming to the last episode of the season, possibly the last episode of the show, I'm having a lot of feelings. I'm examining a lot of feelings about this show.
I think it's a good spot to end at, really, because you're on the top of the game that the show has ever been, and the ratings don't really reflect it, but this is one of the best shows on TV. And just the way they've gone about it, the character development, the story, the interaction with the MCU, I just don't think they can keep doing that. And I think they need to cut ties at this point in time. And with the story of where the characters are and where Coulson needs to be, I just definitely think that they're ready to move on. Now, I would suspect that they would love to be renewed, and there are ways to fix everything for another season. You just don't want to be in that instance where you're like, oh my God, we have another season of the show, and it doesn't really justify it because you're just going to ruin it from here on out. So I don't know. We'll see after next week.
Yeah, you never want a show to wear out its welcome.
Nope.
And
much like Gravitron.
As much as I love this show, I don't want it. I want to have happy memories of it. Speaking of another show with Adrian Pasdar on it, I don't want it to be like Heroes, where the first season was so good, just so good. And then they completely lost the plot. But at the same time, I love these characters and I love having them on my TV every week. And I want them to be able to end the show on their own terms.
Yeah. So I don't think we'll get the news right after the episode airs. I think we're talking a week or two, or maybe a month or two after that, because they want to play it out. ABC wants to milk it for all it's worth in terms of financials, and as well give everybody a little bit of space before the news comes out. You just can't wait too long before breaking the news to people, like Defiance. Oh my God, that was like 3 months later. That was too long. So learn from Defiance and don't do it 3 months later if you're going to cancel it. So there was another big thing that happened in this episode. You did have Talbot, who is the hero of his own story. Mac even said it, but I mean, the dude has some serious flaws in his thinking, doesn't he, Michelle?
Well, from his point of view, he is the next Avenger. He needs to power up so he can help the Avengers defeat Thanos. So he goes to Creel and, again, Gravitonium hungry, consumes him, goes home boasting to his family, and unfortunately throwing his wife up against the wall because he learns that she first off agreed to the Hydra thing and also contacted S.H.I.E.L.D. So he's having this whole, I am a hero, but everything that he's doing is becoming twisted and it's projecting I'm actually a supervillain instead, which is what his son points out. His son is like, you are not a hero. This is not how heroes act, Dad. And that brings him down where, okay, you know what? I'm going to show you that I am a hero. I just need to juice up a little bit more, means pull out the gravitonium from the earth. And then you watch the news, you're going to see me save everything.
I don't know what his problem is. All he has to do is go to the same people that did the core, and I think he can get the gravitonium that way.
Oh, wow. That is a movie. It's really weird to watch. Watch it with friends. Watch the core with friends so you can like either drink alcohol or eat chocolate when certain things happen, play weird bingo or whatever. It's something it's an intentional comedy.
It is a thing best experienced in groups and with commentary, preferably from the group.
So, yeah, I think Graviton Talbot, I don't know what to call him, really, because he's not been named Gravitron.
Okay, so the way that he's talking, the way that he's acting, again,
very Magneto-like.
I keep thinking back to my whole thing about the gravitonium is sentient. The gravitonium is sentient. I don't think Talbot's the one making the calls here, at least not all the way.
It could be. I mean, if you subscribe to that theory, gravitonium is hungry enough that it eats Creel, excuse me, and calms his mind first, though. So at least that's good. So the guy's not going to be in pain for eternity as he's in the gravitonium like Franklin Hall, Dr. Franklin Hall, and Ian Quinn, excuse me. So he's not going to be tortured that way, but he's still. And here's the other thing. I don't know if these people are actually killed when they are absorbed by the gravitonium, or if they've just merged and they can be spit out at some time. I'm assuming that they're kind of killed, but I don't know.
Their physical body, I'm assuming, is dead. Their atoms have been turned into gravitonium somehow. They are gone. Their minds, however, because of whatever properties of the gravitonium, the stuff that is their minds continues on in there. So it's that whole I have no mouth and I must scream thing. So physically they're dead. Mentally, either they or some echo of them is living on in the gravitonium.
I did not foresee him going to get Polly and Robin again, because the way I see it, what is Robin going to do? I mean, obviously, in the post-credit scene, or the whatever we want to call the scene at the end, where he's talking to Robin, it's like, okay, where do I get the gravitonium? Okay, but really, I thought Quinn was telling him where it was.
I don't.
Yeah, he said at bottom of one of his minds or something, but maybe they can't get to it for some reason.
Yeah, that could be. And then how Robin could foretell how it happened.
Yeah, it's like, why do the hard work when you have a shortcut?
And I know he's talking to them in calm manners, but I mean, he's gone all over the place. It is definitely a kidnapping in a prisoner sort of thing. And if I was Polly, I would be scared out of my wits, because he even tried to kill her before. So this is not going to end up any Talbot, or who Glenn has become, or maybe Talbot's gone, as you described earlier. It's really disheartening, because we were all kind of in Talbot's corner eventually. And now to see this, it's like, oh, I can't believe it. So hopefully they find a happier ending for him, because I just feel like we've come to know the old Talbot, the pre-gravitonium Talbot, as somebody that's worth saving, and that's worth having on the team, and that's worth being your friend, but not what he's become.
Yeah.
And one of the things he does, by the way, is he treats Coulson May and Daisy as prisoners of war, and he ends up giving, quote unquote, giving, because I think I was a little bit misled of what happened at the end of the last episode, giving Daisy to Cassius. And they just didn't have the time really to make it as torturous as it could have been.
He tries to mess with Daisy's mind by trying to make her think that she's been there with him for longer than she has, that perhaps she's been this prisoner for months. Because it's true, when you lose track of time, when you can't tell day from night, it does do stuff with your mind and everything. And it really shows how far Daisy has come. She's not our little hacker Sky living in the van anymore. She has accepted who she is. She knows her power. And she says, I am the destroyer of worlds, and is able to crack the mind thingy that's on her forehead and just kick butt for the rest of the episode.
That was amazing, by the way.
Where did she twist her arms or something like that while she was doing it? It was just amazing.
Yeah, she's like, oh, okay, I'm in my own mind. I know how this works, from when she's in the Matrix, the framework. And so she envisions herself using her powers, because at first she tries to use them and it doesn't work. Then she's like, oh, I'm in my mind. Does that, and it cracks the thing on her head. And it was so cool. I cheered out loud. It was wonderful.
and she kicked butt in the hallway and she got free. And then she did the wonderful rescue in the hallway of Deke, May, and Coulson, which, by the way, Deke actually sprung May and Coulson as Coulson's trying to use his X-ray hand to get everything in, which was great, Inspector Gadget again. And they're just trying to get out. And I believe they would have gotten out, right? But Deke
eventually, yeah, but this just makes it so much easier.
Right. So Deke's coming in and was like, oh, I thought we'd need some backup, so I thought I'd come get you. Oh, where's Daisy? By the way, where's Daisy? I want to know where Daisy is. I want to give
Deke's
her some lemons.
Thing for Daisy. Okay, so in the past, it's always annoyed me when there's the obligatory love interest for Daisy. This just amuses me. It's such a cute little puppy love crush, and he's just like, I don't know what to do. I'm going to give her lemons, and she's just so cute, and I want to put my mouth on hers, but only if she's okay with it. And the fact that she just has like no time for him, so it's just this adorable kind of hero worship puppy love crush. I dig that. I really like this more than any other of the obligatory love interests for Daisy in the past.
And Michelle, I don't know if it's an actual love interest because I don't know if she reciprocates anything.
Well, no, I mean, when he sees her, he's all like Daisy, and he wants to like rush up and hug her, but he knows it's like, wait a minute, we're not there. And I think Lauren's right. I think Deke has not met anyone like Daisy, and she fascinates him, and he respects her strength. And it is just like this admiration, crush sort of deal. Maybe it's love, maybe it's not love, but Deke is actually feeling something for her. And his feelings are valid. And I like the fact that he isn't pushing himself on her. He hasn't like really confessed. He's actually listened to her, and he's like, oh, maybe now is not the time to give her this load. She is trying to, find Coulson, fix Coulson, save the world. And then maybe after all that happens, I'll tell her I was the one about that left the lemons on her bed and not Fitz.
Yeah, weirdly enough, it's one of the healthiest relationships she's had on the show.
Which makes me believe that even if it's a relationship with Daisy, it's not going to lie. I mean, he's going to be the canary in the coal mine next episode, and he's just going to disappear. And that will be their hint that they have indeed changed the future.
And I can't believe I'm going to say this, but when Deke showed up, it's like the second episode with Deke is like, I am so over this guy. Like, what is he doing? And then they bring him here. He becomes a fish out of water. Then he becomes fascinating. Then we learn he's Fitzsimmons' grandson. He becomes even more fascinating.
Nana
and then he becomes
and Bobo.
Yes, Nana and Bobo. And I like how he says, I'm the same age as my grandparents. He has gotten a sense of humor because he's not afraid of surviving minute by minute. I mean, yes, he is worried about his survival, but it's almost in a relaxed manner. And it's as though he's been able to express who he actually is because he knows that he can be goofy and all this and they just won't kill him.
Yeah, when he first shows up, it's because he's sort of he's presented as that, very much out for himself, doesn't care about anyone, too cool for this. Like, you just kind of don't care about him. And then once he's the more vulnerable fish out of water, there's something really endearing, and you get to actually see the actor playing this up. Jeff Ward is adorable. And I'm really glad that we got to see this side of him because he's adorable. So thank you for giving us that instead of the just really abrasive, only out for himself person that we got in the first part when he was out in space.
And he saves at least S.H.I.E.L.D., if not the world. He saves the world by being able to reprogram the missiles somehow. And while while May is fighting Kovas and having the time of her life. I mean, you could tell she would May herself, Ming-Na herself. You could just you could see the smile on her face as she's doing all this stuff. It was a fun scene to watch.
Yeah, I love that cutaway with Coulson. Yeah, May's probably having the time of her life. May beating the crap out of Kovas.
Yeah, and they were matching the symbols, and Deke is like, it's a chair with a thing. And that's what he was doing. He was matching the symbols. He's like, I can't read. I barely know 6 numbers.
Indeed. It was just a fun episode. I told you I didn't need a gun to stop you. No. A couple of ionizer missiles down your throat will stop you. That's for sure. I don't think it would have worked on Thanos, which I don't know if I mentioned this before or not, but was part of the episode. You saw Mac looking at the destruction in New York. So it's going on simultaneously as Infinity War is, at least in New York. So I think it's going to end before the snap at the end of Infinity War. I think we're not going to see half the team disappear or half the world disappear. And I think that's what they have to do. I mean,
so I was talking with Scott about this, and Scott had a really interesting theory. What if this is an alternate universe? What if this is a confirmation? Okay, we've been saying, oh, it's not really connected to the MCU. It's not really connected to the MCU. What if this is a split off from the MCU, and the point at which it diverged was that in this universe, they brought Coulson back?
Wait, you're saying that this is a multiverse thing, and that in this timeline starts when Loki killed Coulson, and we were experiencing the timeline where Fury
where they brought Coulson back,
and that the actual MCU is Black
where
Panther
Coulson is dead,
and Coulson is dead. You know, Wakanda forever. That's reality.
That's a reality. That's MC. I don't know. That's what Scott was proposing. And what if the show confirms, like the events of the show confirms on next week, that this is just a completely different reality that split off when that happened? I don't know. This was just Scott's theory. I just thought it was interesting, and I said I'd bring it up because I want to know what y'all think.
It'd be a way for the show to continue, but I don't think we're at the point where the show is going to continue. So,
but we have all the other TV shows too.
Yeah, but it's been made clear that the Netflix shows are happening either before or after the snap. They're happening in their own little timeline. And it is going to be very difficult to do a next season with this, because even if they hold off and debut this in January, Avengers 4 doesn't come out until April, right? What are they going to do? Have a complete half a season mourning half their crew and trying to somehow help?
It wouldn't be the first time they've done it. I mean, they did it in season 1 when Captain America Winter Soldier came out and you had the whole Hydra thing. But the ratings are nowhere near where they were in that first season, and not before or after Winter Soldier. So I just don't see them pulling anything like that. That is way too long to run this a second time. Because, okay, you do it to me once, but you do it to me again. Oh, I will catch up afterwards. And the ratings are just not going to be there.
Yeah, I don't know. I really don't know.
Yeah, who knows? We are not ABC executives. We're not Disney executives. We're just podcasters. We're fans. That's all we are. So, okay. So we have a little bit of time, and we're going to take that time and we're going to prognosticate what we want to see or what we think is going to happen in the season, perhaps series finale next week. Now, I want to be on record as saying I think there is going to be a car chase between Lola and Daisy's van.
Lola and Daisy's van can have little car babies.
Yeah, because we haven't seen Lola in quite some time. So I think we need to see Lola back. And we did see the van a couple of seasons ago. So maybe not so much we need to bring it back, but it would be nice to see that again. Heck, it'd be nice to have the bus back again, but that blew up. So, okay. Michelle, what do you think next week?
I think Coulson will die. I know this sounds awful, but I'm actually going to predict the death of Coulson. And one of the things I've noticed is that Fitz's mental illness hasn't been addressed. It's almost as though he had this break and they're like, okay, they've just labeled him this villain. And I wonder if he's going to pay a certain price for that. And I wonder if he also dies. I don't want Fitzsimmons. I don't want Nana and Bobo to die. But I think Fitz would sacrifice himself to save Simmons because he knows somehow that Simmons doesn't live, and he would do that. That's my prediction.
That's a great point, because in the preview or the first few minutes, the previously on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., you did see Mac telling Fitz that he needed to fix himself. So that's a little reminder that story didn't go anywhere. I kind of expected to see something this episode, but I don't think we really did, other than the what do we do? Do we save Coulson or not sort of thing? And they did have that point where they're like, okay, if we save Coulson, then we've changed the future because Coulson's not around in the future sort of thing. And that was their thinking around it. And I had a little bit of hope at that point in time. But yeah, I think Coulson's going to die because, and this is my theory anyway, is because Josh Whedon actually killed him in the original Avengers movie. And this would be correcting that back to where Joss Whedon wanted. And he's not involved, I don't believe, in the production of this, but Jed Whedon and Marissa are. So I can see them saying, okay, we need to take this back to where it was to begin with. But they had been saying all along that the rest of the Avengers would know that Coulson was alive. And if he dies, then I think it's almost yanking our chain a little bit too much. Anyway, so that's what I think. Anything else that you want to see next week?
I want to see Mac and Yo-Yo have a happy ending, just
reconcile,
figure something out. Yes, just I don't like that they've been so tense this season. Things have been so hard.
They have, and Deke had the framework in the future as well, and I know we discussed that several episodes ago, but I mean, that could come back again. It would be tough on the story to have it come back because we've been there, done that. We've solved that. We've moved on, sort of thing. But I don't know. It is a possibility. Maybe it was just to say Deke has a way with old computers, and he was able to fix the lighthouse after it was deranged. I don't know. All right, one last round. Michelle, anything next week?
I just think it's going to be amazing. I think they're actually going to stick the landing. That is something that we talked about at the beginning of the season. We were always hesitant. Like, this is an amazing episode, but will they stick the landing? I think they will stick the landing.
I think so too. Lauren?
What was the question?
Any last things for next week where you want to see in the finale, or predictions for the finale?
If it's the finale of the show, yeah, just stick the landing.
All right.
Whatever it is, just give us something good.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. It will be on Friday, May 18th. And we will podcast it on Sunday, May 20th. We will talk about the 110th episode of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., perhaps the last, Season 5, Episode 22. And I'm not kidding about this. We talked about it last time. The episode title is The End. So we will see where this gets us. In the meantime, let's talk some more Marvel stuff with the rest of the GonnaGeek.com network, Lauren.
Yes. So We are not the only ones talking Marvel stuff lately on the GonnaGeek.com network. Popscast is talking Avengers Infinity War, spoiler review and more on episode 76. It's here, finally. Team Pop X uncovers Infinity War and all the mysteries that fans have been predicting, anticipating, and theorizing about. What will be true? What will be unexpected? Are fans truly ready for the impact this film will have on the future of the MCU? What are the Easter eggs? All this and more will be explained, and just a warning ahead of time, there will be spoilers, so spoiler warning in effect on this episode. That's Pop X Cast, episode 76.
We have some new news items for you this week. Seems Kevin Feige has plans for Kamala Khan.
Yes, so this just came out, I think, yesterday. So that would be on the 12th, May 12th. In an interview, he said that this was a video posted by Twitter user Stark's Heart. That's Starks with 2 A's. Marvel is planning to do something with Kamala Khan after Captain Marvel, because Captain Marvel's kind of needed for her story. They do have plans once they've introduced Captain Marvel to the world. So I don't think I'm betting they're not going to do a movie. What I'm hoping is we get some sort of a TV thing. We know they want to do their own streaming service, their own thing. I want them to do sort of a Young Avengers thing, so we can get Hulkling, we can get Wiccan, we can get Kamala, we can get Kate Bishop. Maybe we can get Patriot. I don't know. But Runaways has been pretty good for Hulu. And if they can get their own sort of YA type thing with a tie-in to the MCU, I think that would be really good for the MCU and for Marvel right now. So let's do that. Let's do something fun. Let's give us something fun. And come on, Kamala is the definition of fun. She writes fanfic.
She does, and I've been actually reading her in is the New Mutants? Is that the name of the title that she's in now?
I can't remember.
I think so. And I've been reading her in that. She's part of that, and
she's so good.
Indeed, an older version, but yeah.
Oh yeah, that version of her where she's the president.
Yeah. Okay.
And in no duh news, Inhumans have been canceled.
So we mentioned earlier that there was a bit of a TV bloodbath this week. A whole bunch of shows were canceled. Thursday was very bad for me because 2 of my favorites, Brooklyn Nine-Nine and Expanse, were canceled. And then Brooklyn Nine-Nine was abruptly uncanceled on another network. Yay. But surprising nobody, ABC announced Inhumans was canceled, to which we all responded, didn't that happen months ago? The answer, which was apparently not officially, despite many of the actors already taking work on other shows. So now it's official, and that's that.
So speculation, why do you think it took ABC or Disney that long to announce this cancellation? I think they were trying to milk the series for all that could be, and I also think that they were trying to not admit that they made a mistake. But I don't know. What do you guys think? Do you think there was any other reason that it took them that long to announce it?
Didn't they announce they're going to do, oh God, what are they called? Not Inhumans, but
Mutants?
No. Oh, a different sort of
New Gods?
Yes.
No, wait, that's New Gods is
that's
DC.
DC. But yeah, it's
the
in
same
that
type
vein.
of thing. So God, we just talked about this like 2 weeks ago.
I know. And I wonder if in discussions of that, they were like, I think they could bring in humans that way.
Maybe they were trying to pitch like a different sort of thing. Maybe somebody at the network was trying to be like, well, maybe we could do a second season as sort of a low cost in between off season thing. I don't know. I don't know how TV works.
And maybe Disney is just, you know what, Marvel, let's just have the Netflix shows be in their own little universe. We'll concentrate on the movies, and ABC won't have to worry about any TV shows anymore.
It's so up in the air right now what they plan to do that I think they have to change something because I think they know what they're doing is not entirely working, and they might be preparing for the Fox merger, which may or may not be happening now because Comcast has put in a counterbid or is looking at counterbidding. So I don't know. It's all kind of a mess right now. As far as the Inhumans go, I think the series could have been so much better than it actually was. In retrospect, I don't think it was. No, I can't say that. It was bad. And I know we have people that listen to the show or watch the show that enjoyed it, but not me. I'm glad to see it was actually canceled. So I don't know.
Yeah, if it hadn't been rushed, I think it could have been done better because there was, again, we've talked about, there was the core of some good ideas there and there were some good actors there. But the fact that it was rushed into production was not
beneficial to the success of the series. Yeah.
Yeah. It kind of doomed it from the start.
Right.
And in also sort of sucky news, Iron Man costume is missing.
Yeah. So it's the 10-year anniversary of the first official movie of the MCU, Iron Man. And to celebrate that, somebody decided to steal the original Iron Man suit. On Tuesday, checking my calendar, 8th of May, CBS 2 News anchor Pat Harvey tweeted that the original costume, which is worth a rumored $320,000, has been stolen. It went missing from a movie prop storage facility in Pacoima? How do you pronounce that?
Yeah, Pacoima,
Los Angeles. So that's a thing. If one of our listeners owns it, send us a picture.
And then give it back.
Yeah. I was just going to say, I would love to see the heist of the Iron Man suit actually made into a movie, like an Ocean's 14 movie or something like that.
Well, in good news, Luke Cage season 2 trailer dropped.
Yes. So we have a trailer, we have a premiere date, and we know who at least one of the new villains is going to be this season. The trailer looks really cool. I'm excited. Even though I have still not watched Punisher or Jessica Jones season 2 yet, because I've been very busy.
And in some sad news, the Russo brothers confirm some more deaths.
Man. So this article from superbromovies.com has a bunch of people have asked, what happened to this character who's not shown on screen? What happened to this character who was in the movie but not shown at the end? So here's a list. It's kind of spoilery. Some characters, they did not say what happened because they said it would be spoilery to the next movie. One that I will say, just because I laughed, the actor who played Loki in Thor Ragnarok in the play, the one who was played by Matt Damon, is dead.
So just scrolling through the pictures, I won't say the fate of what happened, but you had Howard the Duck, you had Natalie Portman as Jane Foster, of course, Matt Damon, as you talked about it, Betty Ross from The Incredible Hulk, and I've always wanted her to come back at some point in time, but I don't know if that's possible anymore.
I know they've discussed that in previous movies. Like, I think I remember hearing they discussed that for Infinity War, but they couldn't make it work.
They talked about the secondary characters from Thor Ragnarok, Valkyrie was be one of them, and the others. Sif is in there, and I can't remember if she's getting another series or another season of
Blind Spot has been renewed.
Okay.
One of the actress who plays Patterson, Ashley Johnson, is also in Critical Role, which I watch religiously. And her character frequently has to be away from the game because Ashley is off in New York filming. Right now she's on a break, so she's back for several weeks at a time, and we're all very happy.
Right. So you had the kids from Spider-Man, Ned being one. Aunt May, we don't know. I'm not saying what happened to her. And you also had some of the characters from Black Panther that weren't shown on screen what their fates were. So yeah, the Russos saying who did or didn't. And ultimately, if it's after the snap, I don't know if it's really going to matter. I mean, some of it might, some might not. I don't know. So we'll see when Avengers 4, untitled Avengers 4 movie actually happens next year. It's going to be a long year waiting for that. And I think there'd be some anticipation build up for that. But I think what I'm seeing in my conversations with other people is they're like, because of the spoilers of Spider-Man and Guardians of the Galaxy and other properties that are ongoing. So
I've still seen a lot of hype. I mean, maybe that's, again, just because of the fandom corners that I'm in. And actually, I was considering going to see it again yesterday, but then ended up coming home to do some cleaning in my apartment because it needs it. And I decided to be an adult. But I do want to see it again this week before Deadpool.
So I believe Black Panther comes out on Blu-ray Tuesday, right? 2 days after we record this?
Something like it comes out soon.
I know the digital is already available, but I think it comes out on Tuesday. So I'm planning on picking that up.
Yes, the 15th.
A hard copy so that I can redeem the digital code for Movies Anywhere. Michelle, you planning on picking that up?
Yeah, I do.
Now, I've been trying to pre-order it on Amazon, and I've not been able to. Like, maybe Amazon doesn't have the first distribution rights to it.
Okay, so I have not been able to pre-order stuff off Amazon on Blu-ray for a while now. And when I tried to get Thor Ragnarok off there, they were like, well, it's going to be like 3 months before we can send it to you. So I just ended up going out and buying it.
Yeah, so I pre-ordered it from Best Buy, the Steelbook copy, just because if I'm going to pre-order it, might as well get the Steelbook copy. So on Tuesday on my way home from work, I'll stop by Best Buy and pick it up.
So, Lauren, do you have any updates for Comic Palooza?
I do. So we are again part of the podcast program network, the podcast partnership, and we are joined by a bunch of really good Houston-based podcasts. We are not officially, I am the only one here who's in Houston, but there's a lot of really good podcasts if you want to check them out. Go to comicpalooza.com/media/podcasts and see who else is with us. I've met up with a bunch of these people over the years. The Bri-Fi podcast, Nerd Foo, Cult 45, Nerdy Bitches, Metal Geeks, Mind Fudge, Rebel Radio. And just take a look through them. They're all doing Comic Palooza coverage. Just take a look, see if any of these look like something you'd be interested in. There's going to be podcast panels and things like that throughout the con. So, yeah, again, I will keep everybody updated. Check it out. See if maybe you find something that looks interesting to you. Cult 45 is one of my favorites. They do kind of cult movies. They've done Birdemic. They've done The Room. And as y'all know, I love bad movies. And they're always really fun to hang out with at the con. Metal Geeks, another one of my favorites. They love metal. They love Disney. And they're friends of mine. So yeah, check them out. Some of them talk about Marvel sometimes. And yes, reach out, check them out, and we will bring you more Comic Palooza updates as they happen. And keep looking at our Twitter and our Facebook. I promise I will update that at some point.
So we were part of the Comic Palooza podcast partner program, I believe 2 years ago. Was it 2 years ago, Lauren?
We've been part of their podcast program for several years now.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember. It was 2 or 3 years. Time and me,
Last year before. I think it's the podcast partnership has only been in existence for like 2-3 years now, but we've been participating in the media and stuff for
right, but
several years now.
What I was trying to say is, I think whenever we started, there is continual conversations back and forth between all the podcasts that were part of the partnership for that specific year since that year. So it is a tight group of podcasters, and they are really motivated and really excited to be podcasting about whatever their subject happens to be. So yeah, I would definitely recommend that you go to comicpalooza.com/media/podcasts and check everybody out.
Yeah.
Michelle, is it time to move on to the feedback?
Yes, it is.
Here we go.
We got a lot of feedback on Twitter, and we heard from @AdonnaGirl.
Yes, we did. Who, by the way, has changed her display name to Pirate Angel, and I love it. So she retweeted Out Magazine saying, "I think Tony and Pepper have found their wedding officiant." So this past week was the Met Gala, the theme of which was like Catholic aesthetic. And Chadwick Boseman basically dressed as the Pope. And Out Magazine said, "Wakanda forever." Seriously, check out his look. It's amazing. Just all the Met Gala looks are pretty amazing, but Chadwick's is great.
We also heard from @KodiakGWC.
So he retweeted James Gunn and said, have some tissues ready for this one. And then spoiler. So people have been asking, because in Groot's dialogue, there's an English translation for each one so that Vin Diesel can get the intonation right. People have been wanting to know the translation of, okay, spoiler, you might want to skip ahead like 20-30 seconds if you have not seen Infinity War yet. Okay. People have been wanting to know the translation of Groot's last words.
Oh yeah, I heard about this.
And it's dad.
Yeah, we talked about it we talked about it last week. It was like punching me in the gut when I heard about that.
Really was.
Ugh.
And we also heard from @Andy Minga.
Yes, Andy has said, Martha! Because retweeting the Eric Goldman, Annette O'Toole and Corbin Burnson have joined the cast of The Punisher Season 2. So Annette O'Toole was Martha Kent in Smallville. She was also, Annette O'Toole's been in a whole bunch of stuff since the 1970s. She was Lana Lang in Superman 3. Where I best know her from is she played adult Beverly Marsh in the TV miniseries of It. She's been in, like we said, Smallville. She just has this super, super long IMDb list. And now she will be on The Punisher. And then Corbin Burnson, I was just looking him up a bit ago and didn't get to finish looking through his list, also has an incredibly long IMDb list going back to the 60s. He was in Major League. He was in Major League 2. Yeah, he's just been in a whole bunch of stuff. Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, which is one of my favorite movies and also stars Robert Downey Jr. at the beginning of his comeback. Star Trek The Next Generation. And now again, I saw the cape, but it is the cape. And now, yes, he's going to be in The Punisher. He's also recently in American Gods as Vulcan.
I think I originally started watching Corbin on, it was LA Law, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Oh my God, you're right.
Yeah, and then the next thing was TNG and then Major League. So I've been following him throughout his major career. I can't remember if he did something before LA Law or not, but I've been following and he was like the Playboy lawyer of the firm back then. So he's always kind of played that sort of fringe character that's just always fun to see on screen.
And that is all we have this week for feedback.
All right. In that case, I think it's time for us to take that last minute teleporter and get off this ship. Ladies, it's been a fun 4 years, 4.5, almost 5 years to be on this podcast, and I can't wait for more, whatever happens next week, but definitely waiting for the series next week. So thank you for being a part of that. And thank you, listener, for downloading and listening to the show and giving us all the great feedback. Because every time there is an episode and Lauren does a live tweet, it's always great to see the hundreds of likes, retweets, and responses that come back in that make my phone useless for the night. So I've learned to turn it off for the night. So.
Thank you all so very much for listening to us, for sending us stuff during the week, for just having us in your lives. Everything's amazing. You guys are so wonderful. We really love you. And wow, it has been. I'm going back and looking at iTunes right now, and it's been. I'm trying to find out. I'm trying to find which episode I was first on.
I want to say it was 30 something. It was in April or May of 2014. So it's been 4 years for you.
That's nuts.
Yeah, indeed. Nuts.
Thank y'all for being such a huge part of my life. You guys are amazing. Y'all hosts, you, SP, Haley, Michelle, everybody who's been on as guests, the listeners, seriously, this is one of the highlights of my week. Even when I'm feeling bad, some days, you know, I have health problems. And some days it's like, okay, I'm going to come on and I'm just going to fake it until I make it. And seriously, inevitably, Scott points out, you always sound amazing when you always sound so happy when you're doing the show, and you're always in such a better mood after, because you guys, you seriously make my day.
Yeah, thank you to everyone who listens, and thank you to those who find my mom funny and interesting and actually want to hear what she thinks. She thinks that's very funny. She knows I podcast. She knows I speak into a microphone about things every week. And she's like, that's cool. Did you have fun doing it? Like and I'm like, yes. And then she nods, pretending to know what I actually do. But to everyone, thank you for listening and joining us on this journey.
Definitely. And I guess I'll lay it out now. I might talk about it next week a little bit too, but thank you very much to Nightwing for turning over the keys of the podcast after, I believe, 13 episodes to us. There's still an episode left of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. that we don't have on the feed. Actually, we don't have any of the 13 on the feed, but there's been an episode that was not podcasted on this show. So in case you've been keeping and saving all of our files, there's one that we haven't done, and we've been discussing doing that. So we might do that over the summer while we're trying to catch up on the other properties as well, regardless of what happens to the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. episode. So just want to say thank you very much to Nightwing and the original crew of Operator and Beef for turning over the keys to us. And we'll talk about it a little bit more next week. We've talked about it before, but definitely we'll talk about it next week. And with that, until next time, I'm Director SP.
I'm Agent Lauren.
And I'm Consultant Michelle.
See you guys See you guys next time for the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Season 5 finale. Bye.
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 I know, Zero.
Thank you for listening. If you want to leave us feedback, go to gonnageek.com and you will find all our contact information and other shows. You can also visit legendsofshield.com where you'll find our complete archive of podcasts. The music heard on this podcast is by Kevin MacLeod, found at incompetech.com, and also artists on pond5.com and audiojungle.net. The opinions heard on this podcast are those of the individual hosts and do not represent Stargate Pioneer Productions, Legends of S.H.I.E.L.D, or Gonna Geek. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is the property of the Disney Corporation, Marvel Studios, and ABC. No infringement is intended. Legends of S.H.I.E.L.D. is copyright 2018.